Welcome to day 2 of Watches and Wonders. It's time to dive into the world of watchmaking. Welcome to Watches and Wonders 2023. I'm Olivia Kinghorst. Every morning I'll be here at 9:30 a.m. to guide you through the day ahead. Here on the morning show, it's really the place where we get to sit down with CEOs, take a closer look at new novelties, plus give you a chance to take a look around the salon, even if you're joining the show from the comfort of your home. Speaking of which, we do have the in-person audience here, so if you're at the salon, please make sure to stop by, say hi, and even take a seat. An exciting program ahead, and as we like to say in the show, time is ticking. So with that, let's kick off the morning show. Let's start now with a look at all the highlights and brand announcements from the opening day.
A hectic first day at Watches and Wonders Geneva 2023. This is the second year in a row that we're physically present here, and boy, did people come. Attendees from all over the world, investors, watchmakers, collectors, and some celebrities like Diane Keaton and even Julia Roberts made her appearance. Julia first partnered with Chopard in 2021, and her contagious smile turned her into the ambassador of the Happy Sport and Happy Diamonds collection. These are collections based on Chopard's phrase joie de vivre, or joy of life. But she didn't come to Geneva to talk about her smile and charisma. She came to get real on the sustainable side.
One of the things that attracted me to begin with is how they did completely revamp their gold practices.
We will take also the level of recycled steel up to 80% and eventually to 90% in 2025.
To be sustainable, especially to be spearheading, to be pioneers in this way is something that people really do admire and look for.
Of course, this event couldn't be official without an opening ceremony. Our late show presenter, Bill Donati, was in charge of directing the stage.
Hello and welcome to the opening ceremony of Watches and Wonders 2023.
Perhaps one of the most interesting moments was the discussion between the president of the State of the Council of Geneva and the president of the Watches and Wonders Foundation.
Being here in Switzerland makes us different, and we have to, show how we can be different. And we're closest to the factories, we're closest to actually the roots of the watch industry, the culture of the watch industry, and showing it here in Switzerland makes it completely different than showing it in any different place of the world.
We also got a taste of the Grand Théâtre de Genève with an outstanding ballet performance. And lastly, the classic ribbon cutting to seal the deal. The overall theme this year is to attract and focus on the youth, the next generation of watchmaking, to unite some of the major brands under one roof and speak with one voice.
Well, a jam-packed first day, as you can see here. It's time now to take a view from the top. Our very first CEO guest of the day, a good morning to you. I'd like to welcome Karl Friedrich Schäuferle, co-president of Chopard. It's good to have you back here on the morning show. Now, you started off Watches and Wonders on the press conference on the first day. Tell us what was the key message there for our audience tuning in?
Well, the key message there was that we went one step further in our sustainability efforts. And basically, we announced that we are now using a stainless steel which is made of 80% recycled steel. So we are using most of our own scrap steel, and we managed to get up to this high standard and keep the steel that we use to the specifications that we need.
So making sure that waste doesn't go to waste. So we saw in the brand highlights there, that's a nice transition there. We started off with Julia Roberts, a very important person to the brand family. Their relationship goes back to 2021. But now you have this new feel-good campaign. that started with this International Happiness Day on March the 20th. Tell us more about what the campaign is exactly celebrating.
Well, Julia Roberts has an iconic smile, as we all will agree.
We saw from the photos.
And even more so, yesterday we managed to see that live. And basically, we at Chopard, we have a collection, as you know, called Happy Diamonds or Happy Sport. And the latest campaign carries the name Feel Good. So who else can be chosen to portray this joie de vivre and basically a positive attitude, which is something we all need nowadays.
Well, I definitely felt good when I saw her up on that stage. I want to turn our attention now to the latest timepiece of this sporty chic Alpine Eagle collection. What can you actually share there without giving too much away?
Well, the Alpine Eagle collection was introduced in 2019. It was a collaboration between 3 generations of my family, my son Carl Fritz and my father. And it's a reincarnation of a collection called St. Moritz that I introduced in 1982. Alpine Eagle is a collection that is very versatile, and it features a lot of steel watches, reason for which we introduced the lucent steel. And this year we combined an Alpine Eagle with a beautiful LUC movement in a very thin case. I think it's a stunning timepiece featuring the Geneva seal on the movement. So
definitely a lot to look forward to there.
Combination.
Exactly, and our experts will actually take a closer look at this timepiece later on in the show. Something to look forward to after Watches and Wonders, which is in June, the Mille race. It's a vintage car race. I'd like to know how Chopard is getting involved.
Well, we have been involved for more than 30 years. In fact, I started, my first participation was in 1989 with my good friend Jackie X. And I think I only missed three millimillions altogether since then. And this year I'll be at the wheel again, or sharing the wheel with my daughter, who was a good, very good driver, so I'm relaxed.
I can tell that this event has very fond memories for you.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have a very busy day ahead, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next guest is the CEO of Hublot, Ricardo Guadalupe. Welcome to the program. Let's start with the first question. When it comes to innovation at Hublot, I get the sense that you really like to push the boundaries. So how do we see this in your materials and as well as your movements?
Yes, Hublot, we represent what we call the art of fusion in watchmaking, which is connecting tradition and innovation. So all our watches have to really represent this philosophy, this message. So for us, we can do it with materials. So we have been the first brand to come with rubber in 1980 when the brand was launched. What we call the first fusion, rubber and yellow gold at that time, so tradition and innovation. And lastly, of course, we created our Big Bang collection now almost 20 years ago in 2005, in which we have added new materials like the ceramic, like colored ceramic, more recently like sapphire, crystal clear sapphire, colored sapphire. And from the movement side, of course, it's a bit more complicated because there you need developments. It cannot be done from one year to another, but we have created our own movement, the Unico movement. We do our own complication, tourbillon automatic, and of course, also what we call the haute couture masterpieces.
So fusion is a key word there, marrying two things together. Well, this year, very exciting, you have a new collaboration, a new ambassador on board. Tell us why this partnership is especially unique. And I think there's going to be a surprise in Zermatt for visitors, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So Hublot, we are known also for having strong partnership. Of course, in sport, I will talk just about one sport, which is football, and we had just the World Cup last year in Qatar that has been unbelievable for Hublot. And of course, then we create a universe of Hublot in which we have included art and design. And we have this motto, Hublot loves art. And we just signed with a personality from New York, Daniel Arsham, who is really a contemporary artist, very strong in design, creating a big creativity. And yeah, we started this launch in Zermatt, and he created a sundial. So that's really the first aspect of creating something linked to the time, of course, in the top of Zermatt, in front of the Matterhorn, of course, that is an iconic place of Switzerland. Now, of course, with him, the idea is really to create a product, something innovative, something unique, something different, and this will happen next year.
Well, this is definitely innovative, and I have to mention, for those who are curious, you really have to get to the top to be able to see this sundial.
Yes.
Another collaboration in the works is with the Japanese artist Takashi Murakami. 13 NFTs linked to 13 unique pieces. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, again, Hublot, we want to be leaders in what's going on from the digital world, and of course, NFTs are quite important. We did also an exploration in metaverse last year with the stadium. And with Murakami, he's a lot involved into NFTs as well himself, so he pushed us to go in that particular world. So we created 300 watches with him last year, for which each watch received an NFT. And so the owners of this NFT will have access now to a new NFT. So it's going to be 12 unique pieces plus one, so 13, in which you have to really buy the NFT to get the watch. So that's a bit the reverse. And the sale will start tomorrow and will be only available for the ones who have the previous NFT.
Okay, so definitely something to look forward to there. And of course, NFTs, metaverse, still a hot topic this year with many of the brands. Final question to you, what's happening at the production site in Nyon, not too far from here?
Yes, we are here in Nyon. We have today two buildings in which the idea is really to verticalize our production, not maybe to increase the production in quantities, but to really do more movements inside our manufacture, more complications, more new materials like the ceramic sapphire, and we need more space. So we will build a new factory, a new manufacturer that we call, we will build even two buildings, one big new manufacturer, 15,000 square meters. We're going to start this summer, and it will be ready normally end of 2025, we hope.
Perhaps something for us to talk about in next year's discussion, but it seems that for now you have enough on your plate. So thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Guadalupe.
Thank you.
Our final CEO guest of the day is none other than Chris Granger here, CEO of IWC Schaffhausen. Let's start with the big news, reviving this iconic watch of the Geneva watch designer Gerald Genta and bring it into the 21st century there. What was the idea driving that?
Indeed. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Well, it's a moment that many people have waited for a long time from IWC. We are finally relaunching a Genta-inspired linear design within our integrated steel sports watch. You heard it from Karl Friedrich earlier already. That is a major part of the watch industry. It's been a big trend for many years. At IWC, we're very lucky. We have one of the 3 original 1970s Gerald Genta sports watch designs that have really started this entire trend of redefining luxury. You remember at the time, the luxury watch industry was being disrupted both by the incoming technology of quartz, which made electronic precise timekeeping a lot more available and affordable, and luckily we were disrupted at that time in terms of functional watchmaking and able to redefine what a mechanical watch really stands for and what luxury impression and fine art and watchmaking really means. And Gerald Genta was somebody who came into a time in the 70s when design had this massive transition from being very traditional decorative art to something forward-looking, space age inspired and driven by optimism, possibilities, new manufacturing methods. And that really redefined what luxury watches meant. It brought in stainless steel, a material not traditionally associated with the luxury watches. You had expressive construction that wasn't hidden away but actually expressed and exposed as part of the design, and it really changed the game for mechanical watches. So to distill that essence of what that Genta design for the engineer means and translate it into a modern contemporary sports watch was something we've been working on for a long, long time, and now we are so proud and so relieved to finally launch it this year at Watches and Wonders.
Now, I hear the excitement in your answer. When I was listening to you, I also wondered, wow, you really know what you're talking about. And this goes also back to the fact that you did study architecture. You're an architect yourself. That's something that not many people might know about. So talk to us about design more broadly. Why are some designs so timeless?
Well, I think this is the ultimate question in all things design. I think that, Dieter Rams was an iconic industrial designer who worked for a long time, mainly for the German industrial design company Braun. And he was really the inspiration between what we know in Apple's design today. He invented a pocket radio that was the inspiration for the iPod. And his calculator design still today is in every single iPhone. You'll see it in your calculator app. And he always spoke about good design being the least design possible, and good design being intuitive, respectful to the user, long-lasting, and good for the environment. So he was one of the first people who said, if we distill down design to the essentials and make it really, really fun and easy to use, you will hopefully get something which people use for a long time, which therefore then is sustainable, and which therefore then becomes timeless as well. Now, this is always easier said than done.
I was just going to say that.
If we could all create timeless products every Monday, we would certainly do it. My colleagues, I'm sure, would agree with that. But it is that search for finding a balance between function and form. I mean, our motto at Watches and Wonders this year is form on technique, meaning form and technology. And what we're really trying to say is that when you find that absolute balance and the absolute integration of something that functionally makes sense, you often find a form which isn't considered beautiful for longer than just a season or a moment. And this is ultimately in products that are designed to last for generations. What we're looking for as designers and CEOs every single day is to create something which will be as beautiful in 250 years as it is today. Not an easy task, but...
This is the million-dollar question. I mean, all the CEOs and brands here, that's what they're striving for every year at Watches and Wonders. Now, let's launch ourselves into the metaverse. A big topic for IWC Schaffhausen, not only last year, but also this year. What are you really trying to offer with this immersive metaverse experience? What can you offer there?
Well, first of all, we find that all of the metaverse experts from this year are now AI experts, so we make that transition as well. No, but joke aside, really what we see is that when you're looking after a brand that is producing products of timeless value and that are very, very continuous in their heritage and in their expression, you have to really innovate around it in the communication channels and the way you interact with your customers. And of course, there we are always quite at the forefront of trialing every new digital trend that makes sense. We were very early to e-commerce business, we're very early to social media, very early to some of the lockdown fads of Clubhouse and broadcasting and all the rest of it. We integrated broadcasting into our boutiques. And of course, with Web3, it makes sense to bring all of the elements, the added experience of the metaverse, into our interaction with our customers. So last year, we launched the Diamond Hand Club. We launched the first metaverse version of Watches and Wonders that people can join virtually from around the world. And we've developed this year for the engineer as well. And what is quite exciting as well on top of that is that you heard all the chatter about AI and what's happening in visual AI and ChatGPT. So what really happened now is that we have both a teaser campaign for Watches and Wonders that showed the engineer anticipation around the world that was fully visual AI generated, and also a chat AI-powered interaction model at the IWC booth where you can dive into the mind of the engineer, and you actually have an AI-powered chat interaction tool that speaks in the spirit of Gerald Genta and answers all the questions. Yes.
Now, since we are at a watch conference and we have to stick with the time, let's keep the last question short and sweet. Eileen Gu, big name, freestyle skier, Olympic gold medalist. Short and sweet answer, why is she part of the brand family? Why her specifically?
Well, she is absolutely inspiring. You know, somebody in my team luckily scouted her and discovered her quite early. I met her in Austria skiing a couple of years ago before Beijing Olympics. I met her, I spoke to her, I saw her ski. I was scared, I was impressed, I was in awe, and we knew this was a perfect match with IWC, and we're very, very happy to welcome her tomorrow at Watches and Wonders.
Well, from the watch slopes to the watch fair. Let's see what else we have in store. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, every day we want to take you behind the scenes and show you some of the highlights that are inside the salon. This morning, Ariane Alcorta is actually there to give us a look inside the lab.
That's right, Olivia. The lab is the place where we dive into innovation. And this year it is divided into two segments. First, we have 6 luxury watch brands changing the status quo of watchmaking. And then we have other 6 tech companies getting their hands into the luxury of time. Now, there are some major and common themes in here, and some examples are for sustainable material sourcing, metaverse, augmented reality, NFT, blockchain, and we will of course see how all of these are playing a role into the future of watchmaking. But first, I want to dissect a specific exhibition project of Richemont's Enquirers, and that is that they've developed a new database to track lost and stolen watches. And I think the CEO is ready to talk about this type of intelligence already in the studio. So I think that's my cue to go back to you, Olivia.
Well, that's right, Ariane. To talk more about Enquirers, I'm actually joined by Ariane van der Wal, CEO of Watchfinder & Co. Set the stage for us. You're launching a new marketplace for pre-owned luxury watches in partnership with Enquirers. What do we need to know there?
Well, first of all, good morning and thank you for having me. So Watchfinder is the specialist in pre-owned watches, and our current model is that we buy and sell all of the watches. We own 100% of our inventory, and we're moving into a new model where we open up our platform for third-party sellers. And what we already do with all of the watches that we buy is that we authenticate them, we test them, and we check with the lost and stolen register to make sure that they're not listed anywhere. And what we do with the marketplace, which is truly new in the industry, is that the same rigorous process that we have today in authenticating, testing, and checking for lost and stolen, that we apply that to third-party watches as well. So no watches will be sold directly from a seller to an end client without the checks in the middle.
That's a very big claim. You're saying that every single watch is going to be checked and authenticated. How does that work exactly from A to Z? What's the first step?
In total, we have 75 steps, so probably A to Z is a bit too long for the morning show, but very happy to talk you through in detail.
Give us a 30-second version of that.
Well, it starts with a visual inspection, and we always say that the authentication piece is really part art and part science. So we have people doing authentication who've been working with watches for years and years and years. And on first inspection, often you get a sense if it's a genuine watch or not. From there, it's checking the serial numbers, and then really item by item, checking the dial, the hands, opening the case back to make sure that all the parts are genuine and authentic before we actually give it the seal of approval and of authentication.
You've memorized all 75 steps. I'll test you next time.
Please do.
So I understand that you have a whole new set of data, and it's really a little bit worrying, I have to say. It's about the increase in watch crime, in watch theft. Whilst putting together this data, what takeaways actually even surprised you yourself?
I think first and foremost, it's very important that we have visibility and acknowledge that there is a problem around crime and watches. And what we've seen, for example, in the UK is that since 2018, there's been over 81,000 crimes related to watches reported, and year on year it's gone up 41%. And if you look at other major cities around the world like Paris and Los Angeles, we see that watch crime has also gone up with over 30%. So it's a genuine problem. And I think that's where a neutral platform like Enquirers comes in to make sure that all of these watches are registered, and that when they are lost or when they are stolen, that we can break the cycle. And that's the key.
An incredibly important first step, but what does this really mean in terms of for the broader industry and also for consumers?
Yeah, so for us, first and foremost, and why we appreciate this initiative so much, is that it tries to break the cycle between theft and resale. And we take our responsibility to ensure that all of the watches that we touch throughout the year, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of watches, that at least all of those are genuine watches, and that's where it starts. Second is it's the industry taking responsibility and acknowledging that there is a challenge that we jointly need to work on from all angles. And lastly, it's very much about education to end consumers, so that you register your collection or your single watch in inquiries, and that if and when there's any change in circumstance, or you've lost the watch or it's stolen, that you mark it, and that's the only way to address and fix the problem. Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing your part in this area, and hopefully next time you join us, the figures won't look so demotivating. Exactly. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to head back to Ariane because I know that there's a lot behind you, so give us a little bit of insight into all the other exhibitors that are showcased there.
Yeah, Olivia, I mean, this is so interesting. We have things like, IWC brands participating. We have Oris also. We have Rebellion in terms of watchmaking brands. But we also see, oh, I see my name over there, Ariane. That's one of the tech companies participating. I have nothing to do with that, but I love it that it has my name. We also have Snapchat as well. So we have all kinds of different names here trying to get their hands into the future of watchmaking and, of course, attract the next generations of watchmakers. So I can't wait to tell you all about them in the coming weeks. So please stay tuned and, yeah, just watch us more. I'll get back to you, Olivia.
Thank you so much, Ariane. Now, coming up, we get up close and personal with the watches. As you know, this is an exciting moment and segment in our morning program every single day. It's where we really get a hands-on look at all the timepieces that we've been talking about, mentioning with the CEOs themselves. Our team of watch experts, I mean, you must know them by heart by the end of the week. Carsten Chan, Gianfranco Richel, Joanna Lange, they're all here, the trio. They know each other very well, and they're here to show us the watches today. Carsten, you have the honors of presenting and modeling the watches today, so let's see how you do. Gianfranco already set the standard quite high yesterday. Let's start with the first piece, Beauregard.
Excellent.
What can you tell us there?
Yes, in my hand I have the newest Beauregard, and this watch, the model name is Dalia. Now, Beauregard, they have been making this type of watches only since 2018. So this is quite a young brand, but I think it's very interesting to look at how the theme evolved around flower. You can see the watch. The red part of it is actually done in fire opal. If you look at that, and also even the crown, this is in a floral shape. Everything is flowery, and you can see the hands of the watch. How do you tell the time? If you look in the tourbillon at the side of it, there is the a paddle-shaped minute and hour hand. Now, the watch is a flying tourbillon. Of course, flying tourbillon is quite common. It's nothing that is very, very rare. But a flying central tourbillon, it's quite rare. There's only a handful of companies that makes them. Of course, we have to look at the beauty of the movement. If you see the back of the watch, it's also very much in line with this floral shape. The watch is unique. So if you like it, you better run, don't walk.
So for the audience, so that they don't need to count, there are in fact 48 hand polished petals, if I'm correct.
Absolutely. You know your
I did my
watches.
homework. So right. Moving to the next piece from Chopard. I'm sensing there might be some recycled materials in this timepiece.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. If you look at this watch, this is the Chopard Alpine Eagle XPS. The watch is an ultra-thin watch. If you look at the case, the bracelet, let me just clean this a little bit. If you look at that, it's very, very shiny. Now, the material is a special new alloy, which is called they call it the A223. The stainless steel is very, very resistant. Not only is it resistant, but it's also made by 85% of recycled material. So there you go. You have a very sustainability element into the watch. Now keep that in mind because I think Chopard is doing a lot in this area, and I'll explain why.
That's what he said earlier.
Yeah, and also if you look at the dial color, I think this is a very interesting. Looks like a copper, like a salmon dial. This is in fact what they call it a pink. They call it the Mont Pink, Rosa Pink dial. The watch is very, very chic with a display case back. So let me see if I could show you the display case back. With an integrated stainless steel bracelet. So sport chic. This, I think by the end of the week, we're gonna come back and mention this again.
Now the next piece, they're only making 25 of these per year, limited production.
Yes, this is now the Ferdinand Berthoud. This is called the FB3SPC.1. Now, the watch case is in 18 karat white gold, but not in just any 18 karat white gold. This is done in what they call ethical gold. So what is ethical gold? Ethical gold is a standard where they are here to ensure the wellness of the supply chain. Again, this is something to do with sustainability. Now, if you didn't know that, Ferdinand Berthoud is under the house of Chopard. So they are really trying a lot of effort into putting into sustainability. Now, coming back to the watch, take a look. You have the hour, a minute hand, and at 2 o'clock here, you have the power reserve indicator. At 6 o'clock, you have the seconds. You notice at 9 o'clock, this whole part is quite open. Why is it? Because you can see the escapement and the balance wheel. If we look at the side of it, there is a window on the side. Why would you have a window on the side? Because this watch has a very, very interesting hairspring. It's a cylindrical hairspring. So that means it looks like a cylinder. On the side of the watch, you can see that. And on the movement, wow, look at this. This is such a beautiful watch. And they were the previous grand prize winner of the GPXG.
Well, Gianfranco, I'd love you to take over now because the next piece, not as limited, but you're still only getting 150 pieces per year. Let's talk about Frederick Constant there.
Yes, sure, Olivia. But there is another reason to celebrate this brand this year, as it's a young brand. They celebrate only 35 years existence. So happy birthday to the brand, first of all. And how they celebrate it? In launching a tourbillon, a fully manufactured tourbillon, which is in a beautiful, elegant, perfectly round case. And if you have a closer look on the hands, like a sword-shaped hand, fitting perfectly these long triangular indexes on this light gray dial, really aesthetical, pure. But the highlight is this tourbillon at 6 o'clock, which rotates elegantly in an open case dial. You really can see it through. And if you have a closer look, I don't know if you see it on the camera, but the limited edition, it's not only written on the case, but it's also written on the tourbillon cage itself. That's quite interesting. All that in a pink gold case, as I said, really elegant. And as you mentioned it, 150 people will be lucky enough to have one of this model.
Well, the next timepiece, I would really love for you to help me walk through how I can exactly tell the time.
Yeah, that's an exercise for itself. In fact, the MP13 of tourbillon B retrograde of Hublot is a celebration of a tourbillon again. But if you have a closer look, you see it's a double axis tourbillon. That's why the case, it's in a different way to highlight the view from the owner, from the front. But let's come back. It's a titanium case, which is 6 millimeters thinner than the previous generation they already launched. And your question is how to read the time? Easy. You have an hour and minute hand, which are retrograde. It's a kind of amphitheater dial. They jump back. And in between, in the center, you see the movement, but you also see an additional hand, which is the power reserve indicator, which lets you keep in mind it has a 115 hours power reserve, which is one of the longest for a double axis tourbillon, an achievement.
Last piece that you get to present, IWC Schaffhausen. They mentioned a lot about one specific Geneva watch designer that has a lot of history for the Maison. What can you share there?
You're getting more and more expert every year, I see. In fact, you know, this model was launched in 1955, but a famous designer, let's name him Gerald Genta, redesigned this watch in 1976. And the IWC Schaffhausen had the good idea to relaunch this collection in this new design, just a little bit bigger, as it's 40 millimeter diameter, but keeping the pure, elegant design of an integrated stainless steel bracelet, beautiful. And if you have a closer look on the dial, you will recognize this pattern also from the original design of Gerald Genta. That's really beauty. But the true beauty of this watch, it's called Ingenieur, you remember? It's the hidden beauty. It means, technically speaking, you have an iron capsule, you have an iron dial, you have the movement, it's protected in a soft iron case, protecting it against strong magnetic fields. That's the true signature of the Ingenieur of IWC Schaffhausen.
So last two pieces, I'm going to bring it over to you, Joanna. Let's start with the first one from Laurenferrier. Where do we start here?
Yeah, so thanks, Olivia. This is the Square Micro Rotor Green. And Laurenferrier is a brand actually that was created from a racing passion of its two founders. So Laurenferrier and François Serravant actually competed together in the famous 24-hour Le Mans race in 1979 and made a pact after it to create their own watch brand. So this is a great inspiration to us all from such a hobby and passion. And we're seeing the fruits of their creation today with this Square Micro Rotor Green. So as Carson is showing, this beautiful evergreen dial, which has a very subtle satin vertical finish on it. And you'll see this timepiece eludes elegance. So from the white gold indices to these assegai hands, which are extremely specific to Laurenferrier. And Carson, maybe you can take a look at the back of the watch. We can see this beautifully executed and finished movement. The solid gold micro rotor that we really see in full vision there. And they have a very special silicon natural escapement that gives a double impulse, the double escape wheel to the balance wheel, which is actually reducing the accuracy at this stage, a problem in many mechanical watches.
So Joanna, last but not least, we have a very special piece. They weren't there on the show last year, but this year we really have to talk about them. It's from Rolex. Exactly. Let's start there.
Yes, this is the Oyster Perpetual Cosmograph Daytona. So very excited to have the 60th anniversary of the Daytona this year, following on with the racing spirit, the passion from the Daytona race, famous in Florida. And of course, how do you rework an icon, such an iconic model like the Daytona? This is a hard work to do, but they have done it in a really subtle way. The case has been reworked. The Cerachrome bezel you see fits beautifully with the color now of this yellow gold case, which was not the case previously. And also on the dial, they have formed a linear harmony with these subdials, reworked subdials and indices. Beating inside is the movement, the new caliber 4131, which is a follow-on from the 4130 previously. The Chronergy, Escapement, Paraflex, these are all names that we expect from Rolex. And of course, cost-tested chronometer, but not just a chronometer, it's a superlative chronometer.
I see Gianfranco there nodding in approval.
Absolutely.
Well, big thank you to all the experts for joining us today. You know the drill. Tomorrow we're going to have just as many timepieces to get through, but thank you very much for today.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That's your overview of day 2 of Watches and Wonders. We hope you've had a great start so far and have many activities lined up for the rest of the day. Make time for these big keynotes that's going to be taking place. There's going to be ones from Grand Seiko, Van Cleef & Arpels, Jaeger LeCoultre, Panerai, Zenith, and Lange and Zollner. And of course, don't miss our late show. That's going to be happening here at 4:30 p.m. where we dive into the major watch trends of Watches and Wonders. I'm Olivia Kinghorst. See you nice and here early tomorrow morning.